Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Little Wargame cast from Dane. This game we have on Thieves Isle against the player in the top left hand corner in the red. It is Consciously Eating, and he's playing against his opponent, a staple of the Little Wargame community. He is MrPannkaka. So a little bit of background about these players as they're talking about the map a little bit here, talking about how it's a good map. Consciously Eating is a RTS veteran. He's been playing StarCraft 2 and Warcraft 3 for many years, and he is trying to become a very solid player. I know he likes his catapult drops. I've seen quite a few different styles out of him. I think he's still in his sort of experimentation phase. And his opponent, MrPannkaka, is a staple of the Little Wargame community. He's been playing for absolutely ages. He's a solid player. I don't think he's considered one of the scariest guys out there, but he likes to play the units that he likes to play. He likes the gyrocopters and things like that. So definitely shouldn't underestimate him. He's got a lot of game knowledge, and he's going to show that off in this game. He's got an interesting little proxy one den going very close to Consciously Eating's base here, but I think Consciously Eating is actually going to worker scout, and he's going to walk right into it. This is so unfortunate for MrPannkaka. He's actually going to have to fight the worker with his worker that's building the den, and in fact, he may not even get this den down at all. So this is just going to mean that at this stage of the game, Consciously Eating is just going to be up 2 workers and potentially even have his tech ahead. But ultimately, Consciously is going to end up sending this worker back. He's going to send another worker out to go and finish this off. And I don't think this den is going to get down. So we have to find out what is MrPannkaka's plan B. There's no way this worker is going to finish this at this point. So nice there reaction from Consciously Eating. Just going to completely shut this down without any discussion. No wolves den down. So all that MrPannkaka can do right now is try to expand. So he's going to pop down his expansion. This is the thing about doing a one den. Is it's not that committed of a build, right? Because you're only building the one den, you've only sent the one worker. He's still on only 8 workers to the 11 of Consciously Eating, and Consciously is getting his workshop down, so he's going to be very far ahead in the tech route. But if this expansion manages to get down without being punished at all, he could potentially catch up in the economy. But the problem for MrPannkaka is that this workshop coming down is going to mean that the catapult drop comes down relatively quickly after that. I can almost guarantee that as soon as this is done, or as soon as he can afford it, he'll drop an advanced workshop. He'll make 2 catapults after he makes the Gatling to make him safe. I actually don't know if I like making the Gatling here, knowing that you shut down the den. I guess it's just what you have to do to be safe. I guess if he knew 100% that MrPannkaka was going for the fast expand, but obviously he doesn't know that. He could be building another den back home. He could have gone and finished that den and so on. So nice there from Consciously Eating. He's just going to go into his normal build. He's going to get the Gatling gun out, and then he's going to get the advanced workshop. So not the worst thing in the world so far for MrPannkaka, considering how bad that was. A lot of players would have just GG'd out as soon as they had that den shut down. I have to say, a little bit of a questionable spot to put that den down, given that it is the super close location, and knowing that if you just send a worker across, they'll walk right into it. Might have been better to put it sort of off to the side somewhere in a little bit of a cheeky spot. But no matter, he's just going to move on from it. He's actually going to build a workshop of his own, completely going to go off of the beast tech that he started with. And as we predicted, an advanced workshop comes down for Consciously Eating, so he's going to try and get that catapult drop. I like this from him. He's once he realizes that this rush is over, he's just going to send this Gatling gun out on the map to be a little bit of a scout. He figures that there's probably not going to be a whole lot of wolves out from MrPannkaka, because if there were, he would have probably sent them by now. So he's just going to walk this Gatling gun right up the ramp and potentially even just shut down this worker here, building this workshop, which is so frustrating. Once again, MrPannkaka does not manage to get his tech building down. He's got completely cucked on both his wolves den and now his workshop. So now he's just got nothing ready to fight here, and he does have a little bit of a catch-up to do with the workers. He's managed to close the gap a little bit, but you can see that Consciously Eating got that expansion of his own in relatively good time, which means that it is just a 4 worker deficit for MrPannkaka. Really unfortunate here for him. He's trying to make something out of this game, but ultimately, unless he can surround this Gatling gun and kill it for free, this is basically over at this point. This one Gatling gun is in rough shape, is making him be in rough shape, I should say. Although he does have his own Gatling gun now, and he does have the workers to repair it, so he could potentially stabilize here But there's a chance that he doesn't even get this Gatling gun before it escapes. And MrPannkaka, or Consciously Eating, already has the two and the airship coming out, the two catapults and the airship. So yeah, there's a 6-worker deficit already. This is a really, really brutal situation for MrPannkaka. I have to see what he'll do to come back from this. Looks like it is going to be a double mill play. I think this is very intelligent. I know he just likes to go for the mills anyway, but knowing that your opponent is going mech, knowing that they're probably going to be doing some catapult drops, if he can manage to just not take damage for the next, I don't know, 2 minutes from a catapult drop, which is basically impossible, but he'll be able to get out a couple of gyrocopters and potentially punish this. But doesn't look like it is to be. He is going to at least have the lost mining time. So even when these workers are walking away and not dying to the catapult, since he has nothing to chase this away, he has no anti-air to speak of whatsoever until these gyros come out, he's just losing all that mining time. And so Consciously Eating is maintaining that lead that he's got. He is pulling his workers here, but the entire time that these workers are facing these, they are not mining. So this is just more and more lost mining time. He is going to pull back these Gatling guns to try and do some damage onto these to out damage the workers that Consciously has brought with his airship. But with nice little micro here from him, he's just going to continue to do damage here. Now the gyrocopter has come out, which is going to start to whittle this away, but gyrocopters just take so long compared to ballistas to actually kill these units. The airship is going to take a load of damage, and he can basically just drop the workers out, repair it, and not really worry about it too much. So the 1 gyro isn't that big of a deal. Gyro 2 and 3 will make things a little bit scarier for him. He is just going to end up retreating, knowing that, all right, I see your tech, I see what you're doing, I know I have a massive economic lead. He's actually got more than a 6-worker lead at this point, so it just seems like the lead that Consciously has is just expanding over time. And the army from Consciously Eating is getting scarier and scarier. What he could potentially do with this, which I'd like to see, is like add a ballista with the drop, or do 2 drop ships, 1 with catapults, 1 with ballistas, and that way the one thing that MrPannkaka has to shut this down, the gyrocopters, aren't able to be very effective because the ballistas just shut it down so hard. And that's exactly what he's done. He's put 1 ballista in with this drop, and now he's going to start dropping his workers again. And when these gyros come to deal with this, he is just going to pick up this ballista and drop it wherever the gyros go. And there's just no way that the gyros can fight that until they have a critical mass, which they don't really yet. He is making quite a few of them, but the longer he's losing mining time off on this base, the worse it gets. And now we're seeing a 10-worker, well, it's only a 9-worker lead for Consciously Eating. Dominating position from him. I like the gyros. They're coming around for a little bit of a flank, but he's got to find a way to engage this without losing them. I like that there's a 3rd base coming down from Pannkaka. He's trying to stabilize and find a way to get back in this game. You got to take some risks at this point. He's all in on these gyros. All that Consciously needs to do is continue to harass him and keep the ballista in a good position. But it's going to be incredibly difficult to do. So Pannkaka is going to bring the gyros with the Gatling guns and try and focus fire down this ballista, but the worker pull is going to mean that the workers get stuck trying to attack this ballista. It's getting kind of low. There is 1 worker repairing it, and it looks like it might actually go down, which means that the gyros are going to be able to clean this up. But at what cost? So many workers are going down at this point. A couple of the Gatling guns are going down. The gyros will manage to chase this away, but it's not a 12-worker lead. So the massive macro deficit here. Faster expansion here for Pannkaka. A couple workers not mining. But I like this. He has managed to stabilize here. He's not completely out of the game yet. He is in a very, very bad economic position. But I think at this point, your only chance is to do some kind of an all-in. But in this game, there's not really a position to just pull all your units and do an all-in. Right? Like, there's just not really a way to do it. Pannkaka saying, I can't deal with this cata dropping, and understandably so. He feels like at this point the thing that's killing him is the cata drops, but we as observers can see it's not the cata drops. He actually probably, in a standard game, if everything had gone as according to plan, he probably would have dealt with the cata drop pretty well, but he was behind 1 beat or probably 2 beats the entire game, right? Because he proxied that den, it got scouted, he did a fast expand, he got his workshop delayed. So many things in the game meant that his tech was just behind when it needed to be, and that kind of thing can make it so difficult to go into the mid game, and that's going to make that cata drop feel way stronger than it is, and it can feel emotionally like, well, I'm losing this game because of this cata drop is really overpowered, but actually It's not the cata drop at all. It was actually that wolves den that cost him the game. That's really what happened, getting that scouted. The game was basically over then, and I have to say Pannkaka made a decent game out of it. He is doing the best that he can, but the adjustment that he should make going into the next game is change the proxy location, try not to get it scouted, or potentially have a different follow-up to it than just going for a fast workshop that's proxied all the way on the ramp, right? Maybe something a little bit safer, something closer to his main base. But I do like the gyros. They were a nice thought in this game. They're just a little bit too slow to deal with this. We got, again, the 12 worker lead for Consciously Eating. I'm just gonna go a little bit faster through the rest of this. I think it's basically lights out at this point. One of the things I notice about players in Littlewargame is they take a very long time to leave games, even after they're won, compared to in StarCraft 2, where people sort of resign as soon as they know that it's basically game over. But yeah, nice game there from Consciously Eating and MrPannkaka. I have to say the edge going to Consciously Eating, and I want to just say to MrPannkaka that, you know, don't be too distressed by the cata drops. Just focus on getting that early game sorted, and they'll feel a lot easier, especially going that build that you were going, the 2 mil. I think that was looking really, really nice. So good game to both players, and we will see you guys next time.